Welcome to This Explainer. You know how you pick up an ancient text, read the first few sentences that just kind of set the scene, and then immediately skim right past them to get to the good stuff? Well, today we're diving into a captivating investigation of history, psychology, and cosmic significance found right in those opening lines of classical Buddhist scripture. We're looking at a brilliant commentary by the ancient philosopher Nagarjuna, and we're going to discover that those opening lines are actually packed with a ton of hidden meaning. Here is our roadmap for today. First, seeking the City of Kings. Then secrets of Vulture Peak, what is true Sangha, mind of an Arhat, and finally, Ananda's unique choice. So why do these ancient texts always start by telling us exactly where the Buddha was? Like I said, we usually just skip that opening paragraph. It almost always goes something like, "Thus have I heard, at one time the Buddha was at." But according to our source material, these specific locations and attendees weren't just recorded for, historical bookkeeping. They were carefully noted to establish absolutely crucial trust with the reader, laying the groundwork for ultimate truth. You simply can't believe the profound philosophy if you don't first trust the time, the place, and the people. Section 1. Seeking City of Kings, the ancient, bustling metropolis of Rajagraha. Okay, so what's really fascinating here is the bizarre, cautionary folklore the ancient commentators used to bring this landscape to life. They talk about a figure named King Vasu. According to the myth, there was this massive debate about whether animal sacrifice in religious rituals was a sin. King Vasu, trying to appease the traditionalists, falsely claimed that killing animals for sacrifice was completely sinless and would actually lead to heaven. Because he lied to justify violence, as a direct karmic result, he literally began to sink into the ground. First his ankles, then his knees, then his waist, until the earth completely swallowed him whole for opening the gate of sin. It's a pretty striking story, right? And it perfectly sets up the City of Kings as this place of intense ideological conflict and very real worldly consequence. Section 2. Secrets of Vulture Peak, the quiet sanctuary above the chaos. This sets up a brilliant contrast between the two locations. On one hand, you have Rajagriha, the City of Kings. It's a bustling hub, it has food, it has wealthy patrons, but it also has fierce debaters, and what the texts actually refer to as the poison of worldly distraction and endless arguments. But then, on the other hand, you have Vulture Peak. It's hard to climb, which naturally keeps the casual crowd away. It is an isolated, pure, quiet sanctuary. The commentary explains that where there's the poison of the world below, there absolutely must be the powerful medicine of the Buddhist teachings in the quiet heights above. It's a lot like escaping our modern, noisy notifications and constant digital chatter to finally find a moment of peace. The geography itself is a metaphor for leaving behind worldly noise to find spiritual clarity. And it gets even wilder, building the mountain's legendary status further. Vulture Peak is considered so spiritually charged that it almost sits outside of normal time. Our sources tell this incredible story about the great disciple Mahakasyapa. Shortly after the Buddha's time, instead of passing away normally, Mahakasyapa is said to have entered the very solid rock of Vulture Peak itself. According to the text, the mountain just closed around him, and he waits there in deep meditation for 84,000 years, until the future Buddha, Maitreya, arrives to open the mountain and reveal him. This shows us that Vulture Peak isn't just a hill, it's a cosmic anchor point, connecting past, present, and future enlightenment. Section 3. What is true Sangha? Defining the monastic community. The text specifically calls the attendees bhikshus. Now, we usually just translate this as monk, but the ancient commentators break the word down beautifully. Yes, it means a mendicant, someone who begs for food, which they do to maintain a completely pure livelihood without the typical corruptions of standard commerce. But linguistically, bhi means to break, and ksu means afflictions. So a bhikshu is literally a destroyer of afflictions. They aren't just passive beggars. They are pragmatic, active warriors whose pure lifestyle allows them to destroy their own internal mental afflictions. You might think ancient religious texts are always totally serious, but the commentators had a surprisingly sharp sense of humor and a lot of realism. They categorized the monks of the world into 4 types. First, you have the shameful Sangha, those who try really hard and keep the rules, but haven't really reached deep realization yet. Then there's the shameless Sangha, those who wickedly break the rules. Then, hilariously, there is the dumb sheep Sangha. The text describes these as monks who lack wisdom, and when complex disputes arise in the community, they just stare blankly and stay completely silent, literally like a dumb sheep about to be sheared. Finally, you have the true Sangha, those actively and successfully on the path to liberation. And it's this true Sangha that is gathered on Vulture Peak. Section 4, Mind of an Arhat, the psychological state of the enlightened. I am absolutely obsessed with the powerful metaphor the commentary uses here. It calls them Mahanagas, which translates to great dragons or great elephants. The text says that just like a magnificent, well-trained elephant charging fearlessly into a literal war zone, unshakable in battle, not fearing weapons, fire, or water, the Arhats charge fearlessly into the battle against their own inner demons. They don't run away from suffering. They face it head-on with absolute, unshakable power. If we bridge this ancient asceticism with modern psychology, we see a striking contrast between an ordinary mind and an arhat's mind. An ordinary person has unprotected senses, just constantly reacting to every little thing they see and hear. The arhat, though, has well-guarded senses. An ordinary mind is wild, described as an untamed, dangerous horse. But look at how the text describes the arhat's mind. It isn't rigid or cold like a stone. Actually, it is beautifully soft, flexible, and tamed. Whether they're facing immense praise or a physical attack, their mind remains perfectly adaptable and balanced. They're no longer bound by craving. They have simply done what had to be done. The sutra goes out of its way to specify that exactly 5,000 of these perfected, elephant-like minds were gathered together in this one single place on Vulture Peak. I mean, just take a second and imagine the sheer spiritual gravity of 5,000 completely unshakable, perfectly flexible minds sitting together in total silence. Section 5, Ananda's unique choice, the twist in the ultimate assembly. Right out of this massive crowd, the text explicitly calls out Ananda as an exception. It literally says, except for Ananda, who was still in the stage of learning. He is not yet an arhat, which honestly begs a huge question. If Ananda spent more time with the Buddha than anyone else, constantly by his side hearing every single word, why on earth wasn't he enlightened yet? Well, the brilliant truth revealed in the commentary is that Ananda made a deeply noble sacrifice. He actually intentionally remained a learner. He made a vow to serve as the keeper of the Dharma treasury. You see, Ananda knew that if he rushed to achieve his own immediate spiritual perfection and became an arhat, he would enter a state of deep meditative absorption. He'd no longer be able to tirelessly serve the Buddha or memorize those endless daily teachings. So he chose to balance an exhausting workload of service and preservation over his own immediate escape from suffering. And that brings us to the real beauty of his character. His name, Ananda, literally translates to joy or rejoicing. The texts say his very presence, his relatable, deeply human dedication brought immense happiness to everyone who saw him. Despite not being perfectly enlightened, his deeply human empathy and phenomenal memory are exactly what allowed him to record these teachings so that we can read them thousands of years later. So the crucial point here is this perfect synergy. You really need both. You have the 5,000 arhats providing the necessary spiritual gravity, the absolute purity, and the unshakable environment. And alongside them, you have Ananda, the imperfect, joyful, dedicated learner who acted as the vessel, capturing the actual words and carrying them into the future for us. Without the arhats, the environment lacks profound depth, but without Ananda, the teachings are completely lost to time. As we wrap up this explainer, it's pretty clear that these opening lines of the sutra aren't just boilerplate text to skip over. By telling us exactly who was there and where they were, the ancient writers are really holding up a mirror to us. They're asking, to receive profound wisdom in your own life, do you have the right environment? Do you have the right companions? And, like a great elephant or a joyful learner, is your mind prepared for truth? Thank you for exploring the deeper layers of this ancient masterpiece with me. Keep seeking and keep learning.